Step away from that car now. I should have known something was off. The moment I turned into Ridgewater Grove, because the place looked too perfect, like one of those neighborhoods where the HOA thinks they're running the Pentagon instead of a community, and trust me, I didn't get to unpack my suitcase before the first vulture swooped in. Her name Marla Vexley, the brand new HOA vice president with a stiff blonde bob, a clipboard glued to her chest, and the kind of smile that only racist white aunties deploy when they're trying to decide whether you're one of the good ones or not. And oh, she decided fast. The second she saw me rolling with my Porsche, she looked at me like I'd parked a UFO on her front lawn. But here's the funny part. Before Marla even got the chance to declare neighborhood war on me, something else happened, something way worse. It was my second night in Ridgewater Grove. I was in the kitchen, unpacking takeout when I heard footsteps right outside my window. Slow, deliberate, heavy. I peeked through the blinds and saw a shadow moving along the side of my house. Big frame hoodie up, flashlight aimed at my windows. At first I thought it was some curious neighbor. Nope. This guy crouched beside my car and ran his hand along the tires, like he was checking which one he wanted to slash first. Can you imagine moving somewhere for peace and end up starring in a discount horror movie 48 hours later? But that's when it got even stranger, because just as the guy stepped back, something startled him. He bolted into the darkness like he heard a gun cock behind his head. No sound, no yelling. Just gone. Poof, I should have taken that as a sign. But trust me, that was only the warm-up act for the real hell Marla would unleash later. Before we go any further, comment where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe to Silent Divide Tales, because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. Marla Vexley didn't waste a single sunrise before starting her nonsense. The woman acted like Ridgewater Grove was her personal plantation, and everybody else was just renting oxygen. The first welcome gift she gave me, a bright orange violation slip slapped onto my door at 6:00 a.m. The offense: improper driveway positioning of vehicle. My Porsche was sitting perfectly between the lines, like a model citizen, but Marla stood at the end of my driveway with her arms crossed, giving me that smug look racist white women, save for moments, when they think they've finally put you in your place. I asked her calmly what part of my parking is improper. She deadass said your car is too distracting. It disrupts uniform appearance. Can you believe she actually opened her mouth and said that? But here's where it got worse, because that too distracting line was just her warm-up. By day 3, she sent three more fines: grass too lengthy. I'd mowed it 48 hours earlier. Trash bins visible for excessive time. They were out for 22 minutes. I checked my footage mailbox, not HOA compliant. It was literally the same design as everyone else's. I realized she wasn't trying to correct anything. She was trying to provoke me. But then came the first real escalation, a mini twist I didn't see coming. A neighbor, older man, wiry, nervous eyes, approached me one evening while I was installing new security lights. He kept glancing over his shoulder like the hedges were wired. Then quietly he said, "You need to be careful, Marla. She doesn't just find people, she breaks them. Ask the Carvers or the Estradas." I asked him what he meant. He swallowed hard and whispered, "People who cross her, they start having accidents." And before I could ask another question, his wife's voice called out sharply from their porch, and the man practically sprinted away, like he'd said something forbidden. Why did he look scared just saying her name? That's when it hit me this wasn't pettiness. It was a setup, a pattern, a system, and I had just become her newest target. But the real shock landed a week later, when I stepped outside and found my Porsche sitting on 4 completely butchered tires, all slashed clean through with a note tucked under the wiper. And trust me, the note made everything else look like child's play. The note on my windshield was written in thick black marker, all caps, like someone wanted their threat to scream, even after I stopped reading it. Next time we take it, that was it. No signature, no explanation. Just pure intimidation, and the handwriting sloppy. Rushed like whoever wrote it. Didn't expect to get close to my car without getting caught. I stood there staring at the shredded tires. Every one of them sliced deep, clean, intentional. Not some random punk, not a bored teenager. This was someone who knew what they were doing, and all I could think was Marla finally stopped hiding. But then a new twist hit me out of left field. I checked my doorbell cam footage. Guess what? I found nothing. Not a shadow, not a figure. Not even a blip. Whoever slashed the tires knew where my usual camera angles were, and walked around them. That's when the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. How would a random vandal know my blind spots? But before I could overthink it, the sheriff's deputy arrived. A new guy named Deputy Ross Harlow. Tall sandy hair, a few freckles and a walk like he carried invisible knee pain. He examined the tires, the note, the driveway, then looked at me and said, "You must have pissed someone off real good. These cuts aren't casual." I handed him the photos. The timestamps, everything. Harlow's face tightened. These folks aren't amateurs. Keep everything recording day and night. But here's the kicker at the next HOA meeting. I confronted Marla. I dropped the pictures and the police report right in front of her. Like a stack of receipts, she didn't even flinch. She leaned back, twirled her pen, and said in this fake, sweet voice, "Oh, my goodness, someone slashed your tires? That's tragic, but honestly, you're making enemies by stirring up drama." Can you imagine the audacity of this demographic menace? But that's when something shifted around the room. People wouldn't meet my eye. A few swallowed hard. One woman stared at the floor like it owed her money. Someone knew something. Someone had seen something. And they were scared of Marla. But the final twist came at 2:14 p.m. the next day. When my front camera pinged again, motion detected, I opened the feed and my blood turned to ice. A white SUV sat in my driveway. 3 men in reflective vests stepped out, and on their backs bold letters read, "Ridgewater Grove Hoover Security not authorized. Not legal, not real." They were walking straight toward my Porsche. The 3 men moved with the confidence of people who thought they had official power. Reflective vests, cheap badges clipped to their shirts. Toolboxes, tow gear. The whole costume, and they didn't hesitate for a second. They went straight for my Porsche. Like they were repo men sent from the heavens. Except they weren't repo men. They weren't officers, they were criminals, hired by a woman who thought HOA rules were federal law. I stepped out onto the porch slow, steady hands behind my back, because the weight of my U.S. Marshal badge and service pistol was sitting right where I needed it. The lead guy smirked, like one of those bargain bin tough guys who thinks volume equals authority. "Official HOA enforcement, you're in violation. We're impounding the vehicle." I asked on what authority, and oh, the way the man lifted his little laminated badge. Lord, the thing looked like it came free with a kid's detective kit. But here's where everything snapped into place. I showed my badge, the real one. The one that makes fake authority wilt. Their faces drain so fast you'd think someone unplugged their souls. But panic makes stupid men unpredictable. And when the one holding the crowbar took a step forward, I felt the switch flip inside me. Training replaced emotion. Instinct replaced anger. He swung. I moved one controlled shot to the thigh. Non-fatal, just enough to drop him. The other 2 rushed, and seconds later, both were on the pavement. One with a broken arm, the other unconscious after tasting the driveway. When the sheriff's cruisers rolled up, everything was already on camera. Timestamps, audio, fake badges, attempted theft. The deputies cuffed them while medics patched them. And the investigation, oh, that part was the sweetest. Within 48 hours, the paper trail lit up like fireworks, transfers, payments, messages, all leading back to Marla Vexley. Handle the Porsche, teach him to leave. Every threat she thought she'd buried came crawling back to life. In the courtroom, she was convicted on multiple counts: conspiracy, solicitation, HOA fraud. Sentenced to 2 and 2 years, stripped from the board, fined into oblivion. The 3 fake enforcers, prison time and restitution. The HOA itself collapsed and rebuilt under new leadership. And me, I stayed. The Porsche stayed. Ridgewater Grove finally felt like a place worth living in. Because justice didn't just show up. It sat in my driveway. If you love this ending, comment your location. Hit subscribe and stay locked in with Silent Divide. Tales where every story reminds you that karma never misses.